All right. In this video, we're going to talk about the syllabus and the schedule for this course. So to find the syllabus, log into our class Blackboard and come over here to the left menu, the navigation pane, and click on syllabus. And then just click the title, which is a link to the Google Doc. Okay. At this point, you can either look at it here or you can open it with Google Docs, or you could download it here. Just note that, if you download it and you only look at the downloaded copy, you may miss any changes that have to be made, but I will notify you of any changes that I make and that are, not just cosmetic changes like, oh, I spelled a word wrong because I can't type very well. I tend to type backwards sometimes. So, if it's a content change that I make, I will inform you of that on Blackboard and or in another video or on an agenda. And then you'll want to come and look at the updated copy. All right, so this is English 102. And our class is online. It is asynchronous, which means we do not have regular meeting times, although I will try to schedule some Zoom meetings throughout the summer just to give you an opportunity to ask questions live or to get some clarification on things. Maybe I'll do some mini lessons if there are things that people want more instruction on. In a more live format where you can ask questions at the time. So yeah, look out for that. Here is my name. I know Spring Stubby is not a common name. Just keep in mind that we pronounce all the letters. There we go. My contact information, this is a link to my GRCC email. You should use that as the primary form of contact, but you can't always expect an immediate response, and you should not expect responses in the evenings or on weekends unless there's some emergency or some situation that requires an immediate response from me. We all need to have certain boundaries in our lives, and as I have been teaching primarily online for so long now because of the COVID restrictions, I have had to learn to set boundaries around my work time and my home time. And these are the boundaries that I have chosen that work for me and for my family. Right. So when you do email, make sure you're emailing about things that you need to email about. If the information is already on Blackboard, if it's in the weekly agenda, if it's in the syllabus, you don't need to ask for that information. It's already been given to you. Now, if you don't understand the information that's been given, that is something you should email about. If you have friends in the class, you should ask them, or if they have, information for you as well. But don't just randomly email things that all I'm going to do is say, check the syllabus or read the instructions in the agenda or watch the video. Make sure you've done those things first, is what I'm saying. And then I want to know your questions. Office hours are going to be via Google Meet or Zoom or Google Chat. You can arrange an appointment. Ideally, give me a day's warning, a day's notice to be able to set that up with you. And then if we get to a point this summer where it is reasonable to have in-person meetings, we can discuss that as well. My phone number is a voicemail only number. I try to remember to check it, but I'll be honest with you guys and tell you that I forget more often than I remember. And usually when I remember, it's at a time like 2:47 a.m. like right now. So yeah, just it's best to email if you can. But if you need to call and leave a voicemail, go ahead and do so. You can read the course information on your own, and that would be a good thing for you to do. You should keep in mind that it's a writing class, but a large part of writing is reading to understand, but it's also to analyze the tone and the thinking and to be able to understand more deeply the rhetorical situation and craft work that is appropriate for that rhetorical situation. And in English 102, a large part of our work is academic research. So we need to keep those things in mind. And one thing that you'll be working on is using high quality, credible, relevant sources to support your writing. And evaluate information to identify limitations and biases. The learning objectives, again, you should read those on your own, but we're going to be using recursive and reflective reading and writing processes to refine ideas and improve writing. We'll be choosing effective organizational and stylistic moves for writing across a variety of rhetorical situations. We will evaluate information to identify patterns, limitations, and biases. We will integrate appropriate and relevant sources to enhance writing, and we will synthesize the writing research and ideas of others. Those are the main learning outcomes for this course. We'll be covering topics involving rhetorical analysis and application, which you should have begun that work in English 101, especially if you took it at GRCC. We will be working with sources. You will be required to work with a large number of sources. You will be required to work in both APA and MLA formatting, documentation, formats. You'll be looking at various writing processes and working with various stages of writing, but not necessarily in a typical order that you might have been taught in the past. We're going to continue working on your information literacy using the McNeil information cycle. And you'll be working on reflecting on your ideas, reflecting on your thinking, reflecting on your writing, the choices you made, and the way you have grown throughout the semester. For this course, we will have 3 scaffolded writing projects culminating in a final writing-based piece taken through multiple drafts. What that means is that we have 3 major projects. Each major project will be supported by smaller pieces, smaller assignments that build into or support, like scaffolding supports a building being constructed. Assignments will support your project being constructed, composed, drafted, and then you'll be expected to not just produce one draft, but a couple of drafts of each of your projects, showing that you can reflect on what you've written in the first draft and that you can effectively use feedback that you're given along with your own reflections to revise and improve that draft. You'll be using outside sources in all 3 of the major projects. One of your projects will be MLA. The other project will be APA. It's the one that's combined, the first two projects will be APA. You'll have a minimum of 2 unique scaffolded assignments per project. Your first project is going to have far more than just 2 because you need more for the work that we're doing. You are required to produce either an annotated bibliography or a literature review using a minimum of 10 sources. I have chosen for our class to do the literature review. It fits very nicely with 1, writing in APA format, and 2, the work that our textbook asks us to do. The literature review is naturally will come out of that. And then the academic essay, so that is going to be projects 1 and 2 put together, will be at least 8 pages in length that uses sources, and it's going to represent at least 20% of your overall grade, the essay itself. Right, so that essay is part of these 3 scaffolded writing projects. You should have the message that I sent out last week with the required materials, Habits of the Creative Mind, and the Hayden McNeil information. Have those immediately because we will be using them. Right, the Habits of the Creative Mind, and then the information cycle we'll be looking at starting in week 2. The attendance policy is something to pay close attention to. DRCC does not distinguish between excused and unexcused absences. Let's say that again. There's no distinction between an excused absence and an unexcused absence. DRCC considers all absences unexcused. As professors, we can make our own policies around attendance, but it can't affect your grade so significantly that it could cause you to fail. Attendance alone could cause you to fail. However, if you miss a lot of classes, miss a lot of assignments, miss a lot of your work, you probably will fail. This next part of this is really important to pay attention to. The professor will report to the college if any student has been absent and non-communicative for a 14-day period. So over the course of 2 weeks, if you disappear, you don't submit any work, and you don't communicate with the professor, you will be dropped. You'll be reported. I have a responsibility to report your absence, and then you will be dropped from the course. If you are dropped from the course, you can't come back. I mean, that's just the way that is. So if you are going to, miss deadlines or something for an important reason, such as, say, being hospitalized or being in an accident or something along those lines, something that's really out of your control completely, then you should make sure you communicate so that we can make some arrangements if we need to. Keep in mind that for online courses, attendance is not established by logging into the course. Students must also participate in class activities and assignments that are posted in weekly folders and Blackboard announcements. Acceptable indications of attendance in this course include participation in class activities, submission of assignments by the due date, substantive contribution to the class discussions and writing group workshops by the due date, replies to classmates that indicate engagement with course material and peers. To be successful in this class, do not wait Do not wait until the last minute to start your work. Plan on checking Blackboard and email daily for important information, and I cannot stress that enough. You must make a habit of checking your GRCC email daily. There is no way to predict exactly when you will receive communications from me or from any of your other professors. You don't want to jeopardize your grade because you didn't check and see important information in an email that came out on Monday until Thursday or Friday when it's too late to do anything about that information. It's also important that you open up the agendas on Monday, that you read through the whole agenda for the week, and that you map out when you're going to do each assignment. You make note of when each assignment is due, and you make sure that you can get it done by the due date. If you don't have a planner, I recommend using a planner. If you don't want to buy a planner, which I don't blame you at this point in the year, you can print off calendar sheets. You can print off planner sheets. If you don't have a printer, you can just do them as a PDF, or you can handwrite in a notebook. You don't have to have anything fancy. You can look up bullet journaling and watch a couple of videos on YouTube, and you will have some ideas for how you can plan out your weeks. With just a notebook and pens. You don't even need multiple pens. One pen will do. Although I am a big fan of color coding, so I would suggest either multiple colors of pens or one pen that you use, and then maybe some different colored highlighters. But that's up to you. But I really stress that to be successful, you cannot wait until the last minute to do these assignments, which means you must be checking Blackboard on Monday, taking note of everything that you have to do for the week, scheduling it, and making sure that you're checking email every day. This may be your first experience in an online course, although right now, I don't think this will probably be anyone's first experience in an online course. Thank you, COVID. But you know that you may still be fairly new or fairly uncertain about online courses, and that's okay. It is different. It is very different than a regular in-person class. So here are some things that you want to think about. Follow the weekly agenda. Okay, I spend a great deal of time, and it's not really the time, it's the effort crafting a weekly agenda that is designed to help you stay organized. If you closely read and follow each schedule, you significantly increase your chances of success. Also, make sure you watch the videos. The videos generally give a good deal more information than what is just written in the agendas. The videos are where I can clarify certain expectations, where I can teach about certain topics or skills that you need, or show you how to use the information cycle, how to do this assignment the way that it's being asked of you. So make sure you're watching the videos as well as just reading through the agendas. Adhere to the deadlines. Okay, it is crucial that you adhere closely to all class deadlines, especially those for class conversations and group workshops. There is nothing more frustrating than being the one person in the writing group workshop who has submitted your work on Monday and is waiting around on Tuesday and waiting around on Wednesday and realizing that no one else is participating and all of the reviews are due Wednesday night. That is not a good place to be. It's not a pleasant place to be. And I get more emails than I should ever receive in those situations. And then I get all the emails that come in on Thursday of, Oh, I didn't check my stuff on Monday because I was working on another class. Well, that doesn't work for this class. So adhere to the deadlines. Participate in discussions. We may or may not be using the discussion board. We might use Flipgrid. We might use email groups. You might decide as a group to use a Google Chat, or to have your own meeting on Google Meet or Zoom. And that's fine in those cases, but you need to be participating in any of the discussions that we have in whatever way we have them, and not waiting until the last minute again to participate, because that derails the whole concept of conversation. Another little piece of advice here is to consider your workspace. You may have a place wherever you're living, wherever you're staying, that you can, close yourself away and do your work. Maybe you have your own room, or maybe you have a home office. That's great. Some of you may not have that, and you may have to find your own space. You may have to say, I'm reserving the kitchen table at this time on these days to do my work, and I need you all to respect that, to allow me that time, allow me that space, allow me the quiet that I need. Maybe you can't get all the quiet you need, but you've got a pair of headphones and you can put those on and listen to some white noise, listen to some music, whatever it is that works for you. Maybe you like to be outside and you can find a space outside at, in a yard, a park, or outdoor seating at a coffee shop or something like that. But you need to make sure that you have a space that works for you, that you're not going to be constantly interrupted by friends or roommates or family, that you can, really have time to work on the class. And you need to, make sure that you're setting aside that time, that you're treating it as the time you would be spending in class, like if you were in an in-person class. So that's why I say to schedule things out, at the beginning of the week. In this class, you have the privilege to interact with a diverse range of people and ideas through class discussions, readings, videos, and writings. Some of these people and ideas will challenge you intellectually, socially, spiritually. By approaching these experiences and challenges with a spirit of shared inquiry, respect for the dignity and worth of all human beings, and maturity in conduct and attitude, we will all have the opportunity to learn from one another. My motto for us is do the good, be the light. Okay? You don't have to agree with everyone. In fact, you shouldn't just agree with everyone. But you do have to show people respect. You do have to allow other people to have their own ideas, their own beliefs, their own worldviews. You have to allow that. Otherwise, you can't expect that for yourself from other people. So as I have said, we are having 3 major projects this semester. Project 1 is called Finding Your Feet. That is 10% of your final grade, and that will be the literature review, and that is the one we are spending the most time on this semester. Following that will be the Mind at Work. That is Project 2. It's 20% of your final grade, and it will be an argument that is built off of this work you do in Project 1. So when you turn in Project 2, you will be submitting your literature review from Project 1 completed by your argument essay for Project 2. So they will go together. And then Project 3, I call the Mind at Play, which is a remix project. and that will be 10% of your final grade. So 40% of your grade comes from these 3 projects. The other 60% comes from the practice sessions, which are writing exercises from Habits of the Creative Mind. Exploratory and reflective writing, those are things that I would give you separate from Habits of the Creative Mind. The information cycle, you'll be working on that. Your writing group workshops will be part of your 60%, and then your writing lab sessions. I'm requiring 1 writing lab session. You can do 2 more for additional credit. The additional credit will be awarded based on what the notes are from the session compared to what you've done on your project. So if the tutor suggests that you go back and revise for complete sentences because you have a lot of fragments, and I read your essay and see that you really haven't done that, then you won't really get much credit. However, if you have made a good effort and you have mostly eliminated those fragments, then you will get more credit for that session. All right, one thing to note is that all of the 3 writing projects must be completed and submitted in order to pass the class. If you choose not to do one of them, you have chosen to fail the class. That is the work of the class. And if you're not willing to do the work of the class, you're not going to pass. So make sure you do all 3 and submit all 3 of the projects in order to have a chance to pass the class. The grading scale is a pretty basic standard grading scale. You have to have a minimum of a 73% in order to receive credit for English 102. I will say that as long as you're doing the work of the class and you're giving it your best effort and you're really, doing your best to meet the requirements of the assignments, you should not have to worry about failing. Right. Our academic integrity policy is really important, and we take it very seriously in the English department. When you submit work as your own, but that work in any way borrows ideas, organization, wording, or anything else from another source without appropriate acknowledgement of the source, you are guilty of plagiarism. Copying or resubmitting your own work from another assignment is self-plagiarism and not acceptable. Unless an assignment has been given as collaborative homework, all of the work you turn in must be your own. If the work is collaborative, the names of all participants must be on it. Plagiarized work receives a 0. A second offense results in an E for the semester. You should all be coming into this class with an understanding of how to cite sources, the necessity of citing sources, the responsibility you have as a writer to cite your sources. If you have taken English 101 at GRCC, you should have a working understanding of MLA citations. So even if you were to say not fully get the APA citations down correctly, they should at least resemble MLA to show that you have an idea of what you're doing. Therefore, there's no excuse for plagiarism. None. You have to cite your sources. If you don't do it, you get a 0. And that's all there is to it. It's pretty simple math there. Okay. Late assignment policy. I grade work that is turned in on time and in the manner indicated in the assignment instructions. Late work is not accepted. Please note that I do not take any points away from you. You must earn every point you wish to receive. So there are a couple of things we need to chat about here. One of those, I don't take late work. Some of you will find that harsh. You might say I'm unreasonable. You might say I'm some sort of, I don't know, communist dictator or something. And that's okay. You can say whatever you want about that. But this is my policy. I have reasons for this policy. One of those reasons is the real world has deadlines. You have to meet those deadlines. I'll give you an example. Because I'm a slow learner at some of these things. Um, every year, my car registration comes around. I know when my birthday is. I know I'm going to have to pay it. I know I need to get to it. Every year, I put it off. And every year, I go in after the deadline, after my birthday, and I have to pay the late fees. Now, I could go in and say, well, my birthday is during the holidays and you don't have, available appointments during that time, and, it's just not a good time to have to come in, blah blah blah. But the fact of the matter is, I'm just making excuses. I know when my birthday is. I know what the deadline is, and I know that there are consequences for missing the deadline. Here's another example. This one has greater consequences. Every semester, I have to put in my availability for teaching at GRCC. If I miss the deadline to submit my availability form, I won't get any classes for the next semester. And there's nothing to be done about that. Again, we're given plenty of time. We know what the deadline is. We know that we have to fill out the form and submit the form. And there are people who have been shut out of classes for a semester for not submitting the form by the deadline. Real world example. You've got to meet deadlines. My other reason for not taking late work is that, I have a lot of things going on in life, just like most of us do. I schedule my time. I have two planners. One is a weekly planner and one is a daily planner. I use my weekly planner to plan out my week. And then my daily planner, I can work on, what do I need to do that particular day? What does my schedule look like that day? When do I need to get everything done? I schedule in my time for grading. I schedule in my time for grading particular assignments. If your work isn't there when I'm trying to grade those assignments, that's too bad. Because the next time I sit down to grade, I'm grading a different assignment, and I may be grading a different assignment for another class. So I'm not going to go back and look for late assignments that weren't there when I was doing the job, the work that I had scheduled at that time. The other thing to talk about with this is that I don't take points away from you. This is something you want to understand. Every time you work on an assignment, you're not starting with 100%. That's not the way life works. You don't start with 100% and then maybe lose points if you do something wrong or forget to do something. You start with nothing and you work up from there. So you start your assignment, your blank page is a 0. And every time you add to that page and you do the work that's required, you're earning points. You're earning more. You're creating more, so you're earning more. If you stop halfway through, you can't expect to have 100%. If you do 3 pages of a 5-page assignment, you can't expect to get an A, even if those 3 pages are really good pages. It was a 5-page assignment. You didn't do all of it, right? So you start with nothing and you earn the points that you want to receive. Another note here, I am your professor, not your employee. Okay, let's just get that straight here. I am well educated and experienced, and for those of you who need to know, I have 20 years teaching experience, 10 years at GRCC. I sincerely care about your success, and I don't just say that lightly. Like, I really do care about your success. I want everyone in my class, I would love if everyone in my classes got A's all the time. I'll always give you my best. Although, to be honest, just like anyone else, some days my best is better than other days, but I will always give you my best, and I'll do everything that I legitimately can do to help you succeed. But actually achieving success depends ultimately upon you. You have to be responsible for your own achievements. The last section of our syllabus has the different policies. The 14-day absence rule we've already talked about. Again, if you disappear for 14 days, you'll be reported and then dropped from the class. If you are dropped from the class, you can't come back. That's just the way things work at GRCC. It's actually a federal requirement to make those reports. You are responsible for all communications sent via Blackboard and to your GRCC email account. You are required to use your GRCC provided email account for all email communications at the college. You have to use GRCC email. I may give you a pass the first time if you send something from a reasonable email account. But after that, I'll put a note in any response to you that you have to use your GRCC email. And after that first time, I will not reply to anything that comes from outside email addresses. That is because I am required as a professor to enforce this policy. If you have any need for disability support services, it's your responsibility to contact them and go through the documentation process. And then I would get documentation on any accommodations that have been determined to be appropriate for you. And then any of those accommodations that relate to our class will be enforced. Like, I will abide by those. I will honor those accommodations, but I cannot make accommodations unless they come directly from Disability Support Services. You are responsible for behaving appropriately, following the Student Code of Conduct, which is linked here if you need to check it out. Basically, as long as you are treating people respectfully, you are not engaging in any violations of academic honesty, and you are, just being a good, decent human being, you shouldn't be in violation of the Student Code of Conduct. Title IX reporting policy: if you or another student are the victim of any form of sexual misconduct or any form of gender discrimination, you can report a violation of our sexual misconduct policy directly to the Title IX coordinator. You can also talk to me or any other faculty member, and we are then required to report. So if you are not comfortable reporting it on your own, or you want to report like on behalf of a friend who maybe won't speak up for themselves, then you can come to a faculty member. We have to report it, so we can do that and help make sure that whoever is involved is getting the right support that they need. If you have any need for campus police, you can contact them at 234-4911. I'm assuming though, since we're all online, you probably won't need campus police, but maybe you'll go on campus for something and there's some sort of an emergency, so you can contact them that way. If you need help with resources for food, housing, or excuse me, financial assistance, please visit the Get Help website. We have lots of different support resources available for students. We know that it's been really difficult, especially in the last year and a half, with all of the things going on with COVID and people losing their jobs. Like, I know a lot of students work in restaurants and coffee shops and places like that, and maybe have had their hours cut or their jobs lost altogether. If you are struggling to pay your rent, to get food for yourself, or put gas in the car or something, you can contact the Get Help people. The resources are there, and they will help you get the resources you need. So, don't feel bad about that. They give out a lot of stuff for GRCC students. Like, it's real. Technology support. If you have technology problems, you can email me and tell me you're having technology problems. You can send me screenshots and things, but the people who can fix it for you are the Student Technology Help Desk. Okay, so you want to contact them to have it fixed. I can't fix it for you, but they can help you. You can just tell me about it. That way I'll at least be aware. And then if an assignment can't be submitted because something strange is happening, and you've sent me a screenshot of it, then at least I know, and I can work with you on that. Right. Counseling. So again, it's been a tough time for a lot of us. And even before COVID, people are having a tough time, and it can have nothing to do with COVID. There can be so many other reasons or unknown causes for having, some mental health situations that come up. A lot of them are completely out of our control, and they don't really have anything to do with things going on around us. It's just, it happens, and there's no reason to not get help. Okay, it's important to get help. So you can contact the counseling, or it may not be that it's a mental health thing that you're having. Maybe you're having kind of a life direction, identity sort of crisis, where you don't really know what to do for career stuff and what you should do after GRCC. There's counseling for that as well. So you should check out that information right here. And then the last thing is that, there may be times when the syllabus has to be changed for some reason or another, and I will change it. I will inform you of any content changes in class, well, in our videos, we'll say, through Blackboard or through a GRCC email, or more likely all of those. I don't foresee having to change this syllabus, but that's why it says unforeseen circumstances, because we never know what's going to come up. All right, so if you have questions about anything that's in the syllabus, please make sure you contact me so that we can talk about that. So I do want to show you, this is kind of just my little planning thing, and it's not exactly set up by weeks, but I'm just gonna show you an overview of our schedule in a way. So like I said, our first project is Finding Your Feet. That's the literature review project. We have 4 strands of work that we'll be doing. We have reading assignments, practice assignments from Habits of the Creative Mind, We have scaffolding, which are the assignments that don't come from habits. And then we have the work on the literature review itself. So we'll be working with habits of orienting, speculating, beginning, paying attention, questioning, exploring, connecting, and organizing in the first project. This generally goes in the order of the book. However, speculating, we're pulling in, it's one of the last chapters, and we're pulling in an essay from that chapter early on because it will help set the stage for our work in the class. Right, so we are going to be working with the information cycle as part of this project, and you will be using that information cycle and some other tools to work on what I'm calling a news journal. That news journal is going to help you discover the topic that you're going to be pursuing for your literature review. So you can see that we have quite a bit of work that we're doing before we ever start writing the literature review. All of this stuff falls into like that scaffolding. It falls into that category of research where you're actually doing the research. You're reading, you're watching, you're discovering, you're exploring, and you are working toward developing a research question and then creating a research journal that will help you draft your literature review. And then one of the last things we do before submitting this is a writing workshop. You should visit the Language Arts Lab if you're going to do that for this project, which you are. It's going to be required for this project. The other two, I'll encourage it, like highly encourage it. And then you're going to make sure you do your revisions before you submit the literature review itself. The next project, and this is the first 7 weeks here. So this is the first half of the class. The next project, the Mind at Work, is the next 4 weeks after that. So 8, 9, 10, and 11 are the Mind at Work. And this is where you'll be creating an argument essay. So you'll be taking the work you've done in the literature review, which is not argumentative work, and you will be using it, though, to create your own argument on that particular topic. We'll be working with habits of organizing, going back to speculating, working deliberately and reflecting in this part of the project. Because we've already done the majority of the research, you'll be drafting your essay a lot earlier. And then our final project is the Mind at Play. That is a remix project, which I'm still hammering out the exact details because it's different than any other remix project I've done with students before. So I will give you more information on that soon. But this one, we're working with the habits of persisting and playing. And you will ideally really enjoy doing this project. You'll have a lot of choices in this project that you didn't have with the literature review and the argument. Again, you'll be encouraged to do your language arts lab again, and everyone will participate in a writing workshop before you do revisions and submit your project. And again, this one is going to be in MLA format, whereas the first two are APA. So that is really the overview of the course. So each week you'll have a set of readings that you'll be doing. You will do a number of the practice sessions You will maybe do some scaffolding. You can see some weeks have more scaffolding assignments than others, and you will work on your actual drafting and revising of the project when you get to that point in the work. Right. And that takes us through the end of the semester. There is no final exam as such, and there is no portfolio like we had for English 101, but you will be expected to treat each of your projects as if they were a final exam. They are your tests, really. We don't have tests in this class, but those papers, those final projects are your tests. If you have any questions about the syllabus or this kind of brief overview of the schedule, please let me know and I will try to get those answered as soon as I possibly can.